This is the current issue of Time magazine right now. Like I said, I was in the airport looking for something to read. This was the Time Life magazine right now. And I said, with all of the information now, why are not they are not tired of pushing white Jesus? Excuse me. They're still pushing white Jesus. You know what the inaccuracy is in this picture? Before I get into the actual image, because I'm going to go into Revelation, the actual discrepancy in this picture is Jesus has on a Roman toga. Christ, Jesus, was not Roman. And it would be no reason for him to have on a Roman toga, y'all. But this has been an image that has been in black people's homes, that have been in churches, that have been spread across the world. And then when you point out the fact that the Israelites were black and that Jesus Christ was a black man, they say, well, it shouldn't matter what color Christ is. Well, guess what? If it should not matter, why is it that in 2024, Time Life magazine still is perpetuating that same image? Why is it that they're still pushing that same image of a man who really is not the image of Christ? This is actually the image of a European man named Cesare Borgia. There was a famous show not too long ago, some years ago on HBO called The Borgias, about the Borgia family. And he was the lover of Leonardo da Vinci. And Leonardo da Vinci painted his lover as the image of Christ. And over time, this image has been duplicated and duplicated and duplicated, of course, by just painters, not copied like we have copy machines today, but this image has been duplicated. And so but one thing stays sure is that he is pale faced. He's a European. He has long flowing hair and he has a Roman toga. Sometimes he may have like blondish brown hair or blue eyes. But one thing stay the same is that he is painted as a European when the Israelites were not nowhere near white. They were black people. They were a Shemitic people. They were a Asiatic people. Many people don't know the term Asiatic. They think it's talking about Asians, but Asiatic people included Egyptians, it included Hebrews, and it included a couple other groups that were in that area. And so we know that the Egyptians were black, but they were a Shemitic people. They never were European, ever, ever, you know? And so this is the image that I saw. It's in the current issue of Time Life magazine right now. They're still pushing their image. Think about this, man. Think about this. This is something really heavy. When you think about people and their gods, people have gods that look like them. The Asians have a god that looks like them. The East Indians have a god that look like them. The Europeans have a god that looks like or created a god that looks like them. The Muslims have a god that looks like them. That is very important. And you want to know why? You want to know why that's very important? It's because your God, looking at your God, does something to the psyche. It does something to you in the inside. Looking at a God that looks like you. Now, we have been subjected under the hand of another people, and now we come out and they give you Christianity. Not only do they give you the religion of Christianity, they give you the image of them for the God of Christianity. And so think about what that does inside of the mind. This is why you have Negroes today that are in a black Christian church that will argue with us as Israelites and say, like, y'all are off. You're of Satan. It doesn't matter what color Christ is. Well, if it doesn't matter what color Christ is, why is it even in the Bible? This is the book you believe in, and it gives you the description of God, of Christ. But why would it even be put in there if they didn't want you to know? And they don't have no answer. But when you're looking at a God that doesn't look like you, How can you see God in yourself? How can you see God in your people? You see God in another people. You see God in a people that don't even look like you. And because of that, God, let me tell you something. Let me throw a little let me throw something else in there. That God that you see, he also was the God of the Ku Klux Klan. Yeah. He's also the God of the Ku Klux Klan. He was also the God of the slave master. And he's supposed to be your God. So you're supposed to go to heaven, and you're supposed to be, we know in the truth, we know that there is no such thing as heaven, according to the Bible. But I'm talking about Christianity. They believe you go into some place in the sky. You're supposed to go to heaven in the sky, and you look to the right, and there's the slave master that was whooping you your whole life, you and your mama, and y'all supposed to be in the same place. Come on, man. But the thing is that you don't see God in your people, because God don't look like your people. When you have an image like this is and they're still pushing this image. If it doesn't matter, then why are they still putting white Jesuses up everywhere? Why they don't put a Mexican Jesus up? Why they don't put an Asian Jesus up? Why they don't put a black Christ up? You got to really think about that. That does matter. It does matter, the visuals that you see. It does do something to you in the inside. As a child, you're looking up at a white man as God. And then you see white people everywhere. Your teacher is white. Your employer is white. These people with power are white. Come on, y'all. We have to get rid of this. Now, let me cut this image, right? So let me pull something right now. Y'all bear with me. We don't got too much longer. Let me, how much time check? I'm gonna end it about 2:30. I'm sorry, 2 hours and 30 minutes. So we got about 20 more minutes. Okay. Let me pull this up. And let me show you something. Now, this is Revelation 1, chapter 1, verse 13 through 15. Okay. Now I'm gonna skip down to verse 14. And now this is a vision of John the Revelator seeing an image. He's in prison on the island of Patmos, and he's seeing an image of Christ. He's seeing this image, this vision. I'm sorry, not an image, but a vision of Christ. It says, I'm gonna start from 13. I'm sorry. It says, in the midst of the seven candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. Now, a golden girdle, of course, is like a golden war belt, but he was clothed to the foot, right? Meaning he had on a cloak. Like in ancient times, you think about medieval times, you think about like let's see, like Game of Thrones or something like that. Well, this is the vision that he's seeing, right? He had a garment that was this man, or Christ, had a garment that went all the way down to his feet, and around his waist was a golden girdle. Okay. It says his head and his hairs were white like wool. So it says this hair and his head, I'm sorry, his head and his hairs were white like wool, meaning that the hair on his face and the hair on his head was white. Gives you the color. Then it also gives you the texture like wool. There's only a few people on the planet Earth that have woolly hair. Let's keep it real. We're not gonna make this spooky and crazy. Woolly hair. It says as white as snow, and his eyes were like a flame of fire. If you know about in the scriptures, Christ, first of all, he drank a lot of wine. He drank so much wine that people at one point in time called him a wine bibber, meaning they called him like, like a drunkard or a wino, right? What this symbolizes is the fact that he not only drunk, but that when he comes back, the image of him when he comes back is that he has great indignation against the people who have done his people wrong. Let me go ahead and verse 15. This is the kicker. And his feet like unto fine brass. His feet. Remember, John is in the spirit on the ground in prison, bent down, seeing this vision. He sees the feet of the image of Christ, and his feet are like fine brass, meaning brass is a derivative of brown. Let me keep going. As if they burnt in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. So his feet was like brass, as though it burnt in a furnace. If you take a penny, I don't have a penny. If you take a piece of brass and you put it in a furnace, it's brown, but it's going to become very dark brown, meaning Christ was a very dark man. Now, who is this? He does not fit what the Bible describes what Christ looked like. He doesn't have on what Christ looked like. His hair is not colored or has the texture of what Christ would have, nor is his skin dark brown or black. So why is they perpetuating this image across the planet Earth? That's a comparison. You can't even compare these two. You can't even compare it. Now, I do have, let me see if we have some time, because I do have ancient images of Christ. I brought this out before. This is from the Roman catacombs around, I think I have the date on there, around the 1st century. The Jews lived in Rome. They lived amongst the Greeks, and then after the Greeks, came the Roman Empire. It came a time when the Jews were persecuted by the Romans. At this time, the Jews were living in the catacombs, which were an underground world where they buried the dead, but they also were living there. So this was discovered underground in the catacombs, okay? Now, this is from the 2nd century. I'm sorry. The catacombs are of Domitilla, right, in Rome, which you know as Italy today. This is an image of Christ and the 12 disciples, a very old fresco, a very old painting to the 2nd century. So we're talking about over 1,000 years and some change, image of Christ. So why are we seeing this as the image of Christ? Just goes to show you that the propaganda is real. It goes to show you that even though we're in the information age, they still want to enslave the minds of people and keep people subservient to the Europeans. So I'm gonna just drop that. All right. It says the word brass used goes back to the color frankincense tree, dark brown. Thank you. I just felt like I should bring that out because I was just irritated by the fact that I'm looking at this magazine. I'm like, they still pushing this image. Like, come on, man. But it just shows you how people want to stay in control. They don't want the truth to come out. And so that's why, as Black people, brown people, we have to be the people that actually take the narrative into our own hand, do the actual studying, open up those books, open up the records, and see for ourselves what was really going on. Because we know that the conqueror loves to write the history. And if he writes the history, if he gets the credit for always writing the history, then we will always be mentally enslaved.